right. All right. And here we go. All right. So I'm still going to be delaying a little bit to give people a chance to come into the stream, but I do want to start laying out some things because I don't want this stream to be super lengthy and rambly. I more mean I don't want it to be a lot of dead air. It's going to be rambly no matter what I do. But yes, so I want to just lay out some things right here. I did say in my update video there was a series I wanted to start, and unfortunately, when it comes for me editing videos, I don't like editing videos. But when I do it, I want to make sure they're not, like, trash. So I do edit my videos, I just don't like doing it. So I felt like right now, currently, for me to have a proper series, the best sort of setup for that would be live streams. And so I was considering different things I could live stream, and I remembered in the past I once did a live stream with some buddies where we reviewed some fans' characters live, and that was really, really fun, and I enjoyed doing that. So in my fan fun series, if you've been watching any of those videos, if not, I'll tell you what it is. It's fan requests that I've opened up. There's many different kinds, and of course, if you are interested in being included in something like that, there is a link to that journal down in the description. Please feel free to check that out if you wish. But yes, one of those options was character reviews, more specifically character reviews for videos. So I felt like it would be a great way to both review some fan requested characters as well as having a weekly series if I could do little character reviews weekly. So all of the characters are going to be pre-selected before the stream, so I won't be taking like direct requests for that. Jungshook's Little Mac, how can we apply to be reviewed? It's in the description. There's a link to the journal in there. You have to have a DeviantArt account. I'm not doing these through emails and stuff like that. It's just way too much for me to keep up with. It's much easier to have them in DeviantArt comments. But yes, so if you do want your character reviewed to be reviewed in the future, you feel free to toss it there. There's no set time or date that it's going to happen. It's just whatever piques my interest at the time or catches my eye or whatever it is. So yeah, for this one, I decided I'd go with, I actually picked 5. I picked 5 that were extremely short. I haven't read any of them in details. I just mean their bios are like a single paragraph long. Just so we can start with like a couple rather than just starting with one huge one right off the bat. So, but with that being said, they are pre-selected, so no, I'm not taking direct review requests in stream, but if you want to be considered for future ones, you can do that. And of course, I say this, oh yes, this is going to be my new weekly series that I'm going to try and do on Saturdays for the most part. Next week, there is most likely not going to be on Saturday. I'm going to be away from my computer on that Saturday. I may try to do it on Sunday once I get, if I hopefully get back to where I live on that Sunday, but there will not be one on Saturday next week. I will still try to do one though. This is just, I want to try and do something consistently. Chaos Noodle, do you need to have an active DeviantArt account? No, not at all. You can just make one that, if it's even like your old DeviantArt account from 10 years ago and you don't even use it anymore, but you want to request one, that is 100% cool. You can make one just to send in a request. That's totally cool. I'm not going to go to your page and see, have you been on in the last couple of days? Like, it's not a requirement at all. It's just that it's much more organized for me to have those links there and keep up with it there, rather than like when I'm selecting things for these fan fun videos to go like, okay, here's what I have on DeviantArt, here's what I have in my emails, here's what I have on YouTube, here's what I have on Twitter. It's just a little bit too much. So for right now, I only take them through DeviantArt. But again, it's totally fine if it's just a throwaway account you wanna link them on. That's 100% cool. Cool. So, now that I've stalled long enough, we're gonna do these, and I will say I will be monitoring the chat. I'll be looking at the chat. I may answer questions. I may respond to comments and stuff like that. However, I will tell you now that I will probably only be answering questions that are related to what I'm talking about. This isn't a Q&A stream or anything like that. So yes, I also do want to say, in the future, hopefully soon, I want to do another stream that is a story advice stream that I did once before. And I do want to do that again someday. That's not what this is going to be, because I'd just make this video too long. I want to try and keep this stream under an hour if possible, so that it's a little easier for people to go back to. Yes, so I'll start in a second now that we have had time for people to come in. Can we link the picture in a docs file and link it in the comment for the fan fun? Of course, you can. Where that character is located can be whatever. A lot of things sent to me were a combination of stash links, DA posts, docs, toy house things, Is this going to be a solo stream? This one, yes. Although in the future I may have buddies, if they're available, come on and do it with me. But this first one I'm just going to do by myself. So yeah, you get to hear whether that be a Google Doc, a toy house folder, or a stash link, whatever it is, so long as I can access it. It's just the initial request has to be on DeviantArt with the proper form and all of that sort of stuff. So yes, I can answer that a little bit more at the very end of the stream, but with that we're going to start. Again, like I said, we have about 5 characters we're going to be doing that I've pre-selected, and all of them have very short bios, so these will hopefully be pretty short and sweet, which is what I want to start with. So this first one was given by Ink Dragon Doodles, nicknamed Ink here, of their character Vivian. So let me get this off screen, give me a moment. There we go. So here we go. Our first one's going to be Vivian. So just real quick, I want to just establish a little bit of a process here. This is usually how I go about reviewing characters. And of course, disclaimer, what I say is not gospel. This is just critique or advice based on my personal experience, maybe a little bit of my personal preference, anything like that. So don't take anything I say as like the end-all be-all of advice. There is a reason why I am letting people request these, and I'm not going through digging up characters myself. So I just want to add that little disclaimer in there. My usual process is going to be, I like to look at the design first and give initial thoughts on the design first, then read the bio, and then go back to the design with the new information, because honestly, a character's information can affect a judgment on their appearance sometimes. If you look at a character and you're like, all those clothes they're wearing, those don't make any sense, and then you read their bio and you find out, it's because they have a horrible fashion sense, suddenly it makes sense. The reason why I like doing the initial the first impression on the design is because I think it is very important for you to hear and recognize what people's first impressions are when they look at your character, so you can make sure that whatever your intention is with them, it comes across how you're intending it, or just so you know. I think it's useful information to know what people's first impressions are. And then it's also very important to know what the thoughts are after reading the bio, the second impression, if you will. But anyway, sorry, enough of that. This will hopefully be the most long-winded episode there is. But yes, with that out of the way, we have Vivian here. And they did say she was from an original story. I had people clarify whether these were original characters or fan characters. So first I'm going to try and read what the information is on here. It says she's a sea elf. Markings glow when under stress / extreme emotion. Gills on chest as well as neck. Back fin, hands are webbed. Okay. This is not like character related. I'll just say this because I write information in my bios with my handwriting, so I can't say I'm not really in a place to judge other people's handwriting at all. I am just saying that some of these are, and I do personally like reference notes. It's why I do them. but I would say that there could be a little bit of improvement on some of the writing in here. Like, especially right here, that under doesn't like glow when under stress / extreme emotion is a really hard to read. So I would definitely recommend just going back, just trying to write it a little bit more slowly. I actually have a recommendation whenever people write, is like, if you need to try and have better handwriting, take it slowly and just almost write as if you're drawing, is sometimes what I say whenever like people have like issues writing things for things, because if you write fast, you're going to write your normal handwriting, and sometimes that can be scribbly, which is great if you're the only person who needs to read it. But if you want other people to read it, I would recommend taking it slowly and making sure it's sort of the same thing with talking. Like, you need to enunciate words so people understand exact what words you're saying. Think of it like enunciating the letters you're writing. But I'm sorry, enough of that. I'd also recommend, this is just a tiny nitpick, I'm sorry. Tiny nitpick, the gills on chest as well as neck, this should probably, the well as neck should probably be up here in the same sentence. You got a lot of space up here, so it would make sense just to have the whole words right here, because having it cut off is just a little weird for the eyes to read. But that's just a nitpick, sorry. Anyway, about the design. I don't think there's not much I have in terms of like direct critique. I think her colors are very pleasant. I like her ears. They look very unique. I'm always a sucker for fins and webbed hands. I would say it says she has a back fin, and it's obviously pictured, but right now it's a little hard to tell if it's like folded and underneath her shirt, or if it's like very small, so that's why we can't see it, because the way it's drawn, it's hard to tell if it's like a one-to-one drawing right here, so it's hard to gauge that. But if it was, for example, a large fin like I'm picturing it, in the art, you probably should be able to see part of that. But then if it's the under the shirt, that should probably be an important design note, because if you want other people to draw the character, you want them to know if like if it's visible or not with her in the shirt. Plus also, this is just a small thing, with characters that have things like large tails or fins or things like that while wearing clothes, I think it is always a good idea to show what that looks like behind, because you're typically gonna, realistically speaking, if humans had tails but still wore things like jeans, we'd probably need some unique tailoring to our pants so that they can still cover our ass, while also not like stuffing our tail in there in a really uncomfortable fashion. So stuff like that can be both fun to think about, as well as just something that is useful to think about from a design aspect. Like, could be, like if she had a large back fin, either it's underneath her shirt folded up, or it's her shirt is tailored in a way to where it sticks out. So I think that would have been a useful thing to add on to her reference sheet. I'm gonna hold off from saying much about the clothes, because I need to see what information there is about setting for her. But so I'm gonna hold my tongue a little bit on that. But other than that, yeah, I think her design's pleasant to look at. Very nice colors. I like some of the stuff, like the ears and the claws are fun and stuff like that. So the bio is down here, so let's go. So Vivian is a sea elf who's still trying to figure out what she's going to do in life. She has minor experience in water / electric magic, but other than that, she's currently just experimenting with a lot of stuff. She's able to breathe underwater, all sea elves can, and she has sharp claws. Viv had a normal childhood, except for Viv's mother taking her to Neelan. I'm sorry, that's fictional names are hard sometimes. To Neelan when she was little. Her markings do glow sometimes, usually when she's upset or feeling very strong emotions. However, she does have an extent of control over the glow of her markings. She ended up making friends with Bloom. I'm assuming that's another original character, obviously. when she was young, and they've been best friends ever since. Basically, if you do anything to her friends on purpose, of course, she'll get really defensive. She's quite strong, but doesn't know her exact strength. Her fin is very flexible and could easily fold under her shirt. So it is under her shirt. However, if possible, she will use it to express herself, but mostly it helps with swimming. So I don't know if there's a lot of advice I could directly give in terms of this character, and that becomes from an issue of I feel like there's just not enough sufficient information on this. And yes, it's short, but I do want to say that you can have a character with a very, very short bio that gets the point across. Oh my god. Shit. Okay, hang on. Is it back? Is it back? Is it back, please? Oh, goodness, sorry. I don't know what happened. OBS just disconnected. The Wi-Fi here just... sorry, I think that was probably the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi here just has really weird-ass, like, blips. I don't understand why. It didn't show up on my computer, but OBS just for some reason decided to reconnect. So I apologize for that. But we're back. I'm sorry. Anyway, so what I was saying was that in this bio, it feels like there isn't enough information, and you don't need to put the whole, like, all of the world lore in one character's bio. However, I feel like there needs to be a balance of understanding how much information you need for someone who doesn't know your story. And this is that's a little bit of advice just in terms of, hang on, give me a second. I'm gonna put the color on. I'm still gonna talk, but I wanna fix something real quick. I just wanna resize this background a little because it's a little bit cut off. But yeah, is a balance that you can be had when it comes to characters. Sorry, I just realized that you can't see the whole bio, so I'm fixing that real quick. So I'm sorry. Don't mind me here. I'm very professional, I know. But yes, okay, there we go. That'll just have to be good enough right there. So, okay. So, sorry about that. Okay. I'm very professional, I know. So, you don't need to put, like an entire length of like, here's all the details on how this magic system works, or here's all of the details on how this whole world works. But even just having little snippets, just reminders of things, because especially when you're asking for characters to be reviewed by other people, it's going to be very hard for them to give you good advice on things if they don't know enough of your world, because they could give you advice, but that advice might not help at all because they don't know how your world works. And it's like, and that's just a very constant problem with reviewing characters in general. Especially when there's information left out. But in her case, there's a lot of information I feel like she needs in her bio because about the world, because it's very it just feels like it's left out. For example, where does she live? Is this a modern world? Is this like a modern fantasy world? Is she like, does she live in water or out of water? Because it says she's a sea elf, but I'm assuming it mentions that she can breathe underwater, but it doesn't say if she lives underwater or lives on land. There's not really a lot of clarification of like what her setting is, in a way that would help even a casual viewer who doesn't know everything about the lore of the world for them to understand. It's just a very... My personal advice would be for when you're writing bios for characters, especially ones you hope to be reviewed by other people and strangers, pretend when you're explaining your character that you're explaining a character that like the person, just assume that the person has no idea what you're talking about. If you're even just worried about people having to reread the same things over and over and over again, then make sections for it. Make a section, this is actually what I do now when I do concept art, make a section that like explains the basic concept of the world and mark it off, and then under that have like things get more and more specific. That way, if for some reason somebody has already heard this information before and they don't need to hear it again, they can just skip right past it and they can just go to the stuff they don't know. That's just advice I have when it comes to organizing and structuring a character bio publicly. Obviously, if it's private, it doesn't fucking matter. But, the other thing, too, is that I feel like this bio actually doesn't really tell us a lot about the character, because, like, I read this and the most information I know is that she had a normal childhood. Okay, doesn't really tell us much about her as a person. It says that she's physically strong. So, like, okay, she's physically strong and she doesn't really recognize it. Then the only real personality I get from this, to be honest, is that she'll die for her friends, which isn't exactly a very unique personality trait. Most people, 99% of people I know would also tell you that, like, they would kill someone for their friends, and so I just feel like this bio for this character just doesn't really tell us much about her at all, other than just kind of general information that could kind of apply to probably most people of her species or something like that. So my advice for this would definitely be to actually dive in a bit more into her actual personality, because that's what her bio's before. This just feels like much more of a brief overview of a world rather than an actual in-depth analysis on the character. But I'm getting to the point where I'm rambling. So overall, and then again, the most that's changed for me reading the bio is that her fin is under her shirt. Although I will say, this is just a personal thing, if that is the case, I feel like her spine should be maybe a little bit thinner near the base, because right now, assuming they're like cylindrical, they look like they'd be really thick towards the base, so I don't think that would fold very comfortably, but that's just nitpick, just a technical thing. But overall, my best advice for this character would just to be actually, like, share some more information into her bio and actually put a little bit more into her so that people looking at her can better understand her and know more about her. So, yes. Anyway, so now we're going on to our second one here, and I'm sorry, I need to make these a bit shorter. We have this one, which is just called the character. Okay, this was given to me by I'm so sorry, I'm not gonna pronounce this right. Absolutely, I think is how you're supposed to say that, of their character Rahito, and they also said, I believe that it is let me go check actually, just so I can make sure I'm saying this correctly. Yeah, it says just my own, so it's original character story. So initial thing, I think his design's nice. Got nice colors, got some cool appearance. I always am a sucker for those big rimmed hats, that kind of thing. The little notes are fun. Honor, prob, stupid, and then weeb. So, I don't know how those are going to apply exactly when we read the bio, but that's cool. I don't see anything that's a glaring issue in his design or anything like that. So, yeah, we're just going to go right to the very, very short information here. His whole character is that he's an edgy fuck on purpose. He's so fucking annoying. I love him. He's obsessed with honor, unlike Zuko. Unlike Zuko, he's not looking to regain honor. He's looking to keep his honor up to be the best warrior can be. This guy is very intense. He's the stereotypical, I must stick to my morals, the ones my master taught me, and he's very loyal. He does stick to his morals very intensely, extremely humble, really fucking annoying. He goes all, it's unfair to love for for a hero must not value one's life above others. He's a total hopeless romantic and just denies it. He ends up with 2 boyfriends in the end. Okay. So I'm not sure if you're referring to Avatar The Last Airbender Zuko, which I have a feeling you are, or if that's actually another character and I just don't know that. But I'm gonna say this because this is a very general piece of advice that that I have not really, that I have an issue with. Like, I've seen this a lot, and it's something that I have a personal gripe. It's a personal pet peeve of mine with character bios. And obviously it's hard. This one's hard because this character is like teetering on that line of this bio being serious and this bio being 100% a joke. And those are really hard for me to give proper advice on because I don't know how much of it is serious. But I'm going to say this. When you're writing a bio for your character with the intention of them to be a serious character, please, please, please leave out other characters and symbols of media out of it. Because it's not very helpful to people reviewing it. And it takes away a lot from your actual character. Because like, how do I've gone on rants before. I'm just trying to find the most direct way to say this. I've had it before where I've had to go through and review characters. This actually happened a lot with a contest I had. I had to review characters. And one of the most frustrating things for me when I'm trying to seriously evaluate a character is when somebody says something, it's like, oh yeah, my character would totally be a Slytherin if they were in Harry Potter. That stuff is not helpful, and it actually confuses people more if they don't know what you're talking about. Because, like, I don't even watch anything. I've never seen an actual Harry Potter movie. I've never read a Harry Potter book. The closest I've ever gotten is watching the 2 Fantastic Beasts movies. That's it. The only reason I know jack shit about Harry Potter houses is because I have friends who are super into Harry Potter. So when I'm reading a character bio, it does not really tell me anything if you say, oh yeah, they're a Slytherin. You know? And it's just not... It doesn't make sense if you're trying to explain. It's also a thing I have with commissions. I've had people before who will give me commissions and they'll tell me, oh yeah, so my character, they're like, this is going to be a horrible example because I'm making this off at the top of my head. It's like, oh yeah, my character, they're like Katara, and they're also a bit like Toph, and they're also kind of like Hermione, you know, a little bit in there. Also like Katniss. You know, like, that does not help me. You need to be able to, and again, I'm going a little off. This is just because it's a pet peeve. This is not like the worst. This character is not like the worst example of this at all. This is just it's a casual comment. I think it's a little, I'll get back to it in a second. I'm just saying in general, please explain your character's personality in your own words and don't use analogies, don't use comparisons to other media to explain your character. Because it makes your character harder to see as an individual character, and it also can just be very confusing, and it can also just make your character a lot harder to take seriously in a narrative sense, you know? It's fine. I mean, obviously making jokes and stuff after the fact, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just mean in your character's initial bio. Don't try to explain your character's personality by using other characters in other media, just assuming everyone knows what you're talking about, or assuming people are going to look up that character and stuff like that. But sorry, that's just a big piece of advice I have generally for people. But back to Rihito, when it comes to just saying, like, he's obsessed with honor, unlike Zuko, it just was a very weird wording since Zuko was not brought up. That's just a bit of a grammatical thing, so I'm gonna leave that alone for now. I would just recommend for the actual bio to just kind of maybe take that out and maybe leave it just explaining the character itself and not involve a reference to Avatar: The Last Airbender, especially because like looking at this character, he looks like he could technically fit into an Avatar: The Last Airbender world, so that gives really weird implications that he's an Avatar: The Last Airbender character. But that being said, I feel like this bio is a little bit all over the place. Like, it opens up by saying that he's an edgy fuck on purpose, but nothing in his bio gave me the impression of edgy. You know what I mean? I got intense. Like, okay, that makes sense. I got, like, dramatic out of it. Like, he's very melodramatic about everything. But I don't think edgy as fuck is, like, the right descriptor here from what I'm getting. And, and I feel like, I think there's a lot of issue comes for this character specifically, just comes from how this bio is worded out. Like, just some of the wording is a little bit funky, and I feel like this could be, and I understand part of it is because the bio is being written with a sense of trying to be humorous and satirical, which is fine. I do that shit all the time when I'm writing character bios. It's just some of the phrasing in here is a little bit weird, and it feels like there's a bit like, it's hard to tell. It's also hard to tell where some sentences end, because like from where I'm sitting far away, my nearsightedness makes it a little hard to see the periods, and because none of the words are capitalized, it's like, it feels like a lot of it's a run-on sentence. But sorry, that's and I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot in here that could be, like, A, expanded upon, and B, I just think there needs to be a little bit more cohesion and a little bit more of a dividing line and just refinement to the writing. I don't think his character as a whole is bad at all. I think he's fine as a character. Other than just, I think edgy as fuck doesn't sound like an appropriate descriptor for him. But, yeah. So with that out of the way, not a bad character at all. Just what we can take away from... For everyone here, what we will take away from this is simply the fact of, when you're writing a character bio, probably steer clear from using other media and other stories to describe your character. But anyway, sorry. That is all I have to say, and we're going to move on to the next one, which is this character named Ragdoll. And I want to say the first thing is that this character looks really cute. I really like this character's design. They were created by High Nerd. I want to say they look cute. I like characters that have this sort of, I don't know how to describe the aesthetic of it, but like just the ragdoll aesthetic, you know what I mean? It looks very cute. I think the colors are very pleasant to look at. I like the little splash of blue in there. They're very simple colors, which is very nice. So all around, I think the design, first impression of the design is I think it's a very appealing design. But we're going to go to the little bio here, and we actually have a little bit more information to work with. Ooh. So their name is 7-72. I need to check. I'm pretty sure this one is also an original character. It does not say. Okay, that's fine. So I was just looking because the name being a number reminded me of 9, but I'm assuming this one's not a 9 character, I don't think. So I'm just gonna pretend it's not. I'm assuming it's not. So their name is 7-72. Their nickname is Ragdoll. They're a robot? Okay. Prototype 7 backstory. Ragdoll is a Prototype 7 robot, originally designed to be a caretaker bot. Ragdoll was created specifically to be appealing to young children. Unlike other bots who were more uncanny in design, they strongly resemble a doll, hence the nickname they were given by their owners. Ragdoll was decommissioned after their owners lost the need for them. Ragdoll would be stored in a supply closet, deactivated and forgotten, until they woke up to find a world without humans. Ooh. News story. Ragdoll must navigate this strange apocalyptic world, all while keeping a cheery attitude. They encounter other abandoned bots, most of them having gone completely haywire, and then Ragdoll finds New Spire. New Spire is a safe haven, the only remaining fragment of civilization, but as Ragdoll soon learns, New Spire is a far less pleasant place than the billboard out front declares. Personality: Ragdoll is rather cheerful and energetic. They see the world from a naive standpoint, much like a child. Ragdoll is one of the few functional bots left on decaying Earth, and they are possibly the only robot who hasn't had a horrible existential crisis yet. All right, so first of all, I want to say, when I was talking about earlier on Vivian's ref about being able to make a short bio have plenty of information, this is definitely a very good example of that. Definitely does sound like 9, like just so it's very, very similar to 9, not exactly, but not exactly at all. I'm not calling it a ripoff at all. I'm just saying it definitely does give me 9 vibes, which I'm okay with. I like that aesthetic of humanless world where the only things there now are like robots and stuff, which is kind of neat. Hang on, I want to go back because I think there's one thing in here that was a little confusing. Okay, so if they are a robot and they were deactivated and put in a supply closet, how did they wake up? Because I would assume that because they're a robot, that something would have to turn them on. So are we talking about like end game level where like a rat scurried across and like press the on button kind of a thing? Or are we talking about like just at some point, like it's weird to say that they were deactivated and then woke up for being a robot is all I'm saying. And again, it could depend on how you're saying your robots are built. I'm just saying that's sort of a kind of plot hole that should probably be considered and filled in a little bit, just because with the implications of them being a robot, it doesn't really quite make sense for them to just quote unquote wake up by themselves if they were deactivated. Other than that, though, I definitely like the idea of it, and I think it's a very cute idea. It makes sense for... I always like the consideration of, like, what was a robot designed to be made, because that can affect the design of a robot significantly. And I like the idea of this being, like, a child companion. I would like to know... I think it would be a good idea to probably put just a little bit more in there. And again, like, this is just nitpicky. This isn't, like, anything huge. Like, because they said they were going to be given to children, like, to be appealing to children, and essentially, I'm assuming, be kind of like toys, why do the owners lose the need for them? Especially because they're a prototype, so I'm assuming they were, like, testing the product at the time. So, like, was it because some other company came out with their own version? Was it because there was... like there was just like too much going on to where they had to focus on other things? It just seems it's just a weird little tiny plot hole there. Other than that, I think I like the concept. Seems fun. It seems interesting. I like the idea of robots having like going crazy because all the humans are gone, especially if they're programmed and don't have like a super extensive AI. But I think it's fun, and I think it's cute. I think the only other thing I could say is that maybe there could be a little bit more to make them look like a robot, just a little bit. But at the same time, that's still nitpicky, because I can definitely see the jacket and the scarf actually being clothes that was like put on for an aesthetic purpose. And, you know, the head's fine and all that. I think maybe the only thing I'd say is the legs, because if they were a robot realistically made out of metal, those legs do not look like they could support metal, if I'm assuming they're made out of wire or something like that. But that would be the only thing about the design I would say probably could be considered. But other than that, I think they're a cute little character, and I think they're sweet. 10 out of 10 would take commission for character. Anyway, but yes, so with that, we move on to the next one, which is Nezumi by Auntie Lucky. So first design impression, I think it's alright. I think it's alright. It has not real crazy on the color, not super wild colors, not super crazy design or anything like that. I don't think I have anything to say that's not like it's objective. And and I think there's just most of this is going to be left down to what the bio actually says about the character. So I'll leave that opinion because I just want to make sure I'm not saying anything that's going to be like totally subjective. But so I don't think I think the design's fine from an aesthetic standpoint. So here we go. Their name is Nezumi Leons, gender male, age 19, height 4'5". That's short. Okay. Sorry, I was like, I had to pause for a second and picture that in my mind. That's about as a little bit into dwarfism territory. But anyway, sorry. Okay, I just had to my brain had to make a mental image for a second. Nezumi is an Irish mythological creature lost in Japan. He wanders alone seeking something absent from him. Though he's lost, his endurance and tenacity keep him going. Although he lacks charisma and really any people skills, that doesn't stop him from helping people, even if it's unusually indirectly. Even if it's usually indirectly, my bad. He has a stubborn nature and isn't afraid to tell people when they bug him. Despite of this, or maybe even because of this, he's made friends with either the overly optimistic types or the lonely types. Even though he won't admit it, the company's nice. There should probably be a comma there. Sorry. Though he can shapeshift into anything, his favorites are bunnies, foxes, and ravens. Whenever he comes across someone he's not too fond of, Zumi will usually try to trick and scare them to stop annoying him. Others around him will never know whether his arrival is a blessing or a curse. This is due to there always being an event wherever he goes. One of his only pleasures in life is sweets. Ability, shapeshifting. He uses the ability the most to the point he knows his favorite types of animals to change into. Night vision, he's able to see in the dark, even in his human form. Combination, he has the ability to combine different animals together, but only two together at once. Okay, I have a first point, but I need to look at something real quick. Give me a second. I don't have, because this is a live stream, I don't want to say something. Okay. So here's the first point I'm going to make. If he is an Irish mythological creature lost in Japan, as in he's not supposed to be in Japan, why does he have a Japanese name? I find it weird if that, because the way it's worded is that he's not meant to be in Japan. So why does he have a Japanese name? The only reason I could assume is maybe he took it to be sort of undercover kind of a thing, to blend in better, but that's not mentioned. And if that's the case, it should be mentioned. It's just very strange to me that an Irish mythological creature would have a Japanese name, even if they were lost in Japan, because they weren't technically born there. Because I'm just assuming that they'd be born in Ireland, and if not, there would need to be more information about that. The second thing is, I think it would be very nice to actually have the animal the creature he is named or just stated, because I don't know too much about Irish mythology. I know some, but I don't know a whole lot. But I think it'd probably be a very good idea to actually write in what hang on. Puka, hang on. Okay, so I guess I'm just assuming based on. Okay, yeah. So it seems like he's what's called a puka. It's a. So I kind of get it. Bringers of both good and bad fortune. They could either help. See, this is what I just mean. It would be a good idea to actually put the species somewhere that isn't just the tags, because I only thought oh, look at there's tags. Maybe that's in there. I would recommend putting it in more places than just that, or putting it actually in the bio. He is a puka from Irish mythology. Okay, so he's a shapeshifter. take a variety of pleasing or terrifying pleasing forms. Can take a human form, but will often have animals' features such as ears or a tail. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking a little bit so I can understand what a puka is in better detail. Although, okay. Sorry, there's a lot of different variations of that spelling. All right, so see, that does explain. I do find that interesting because it does say they are bringers of both good and bad fortune. So I like that in connection to the like people don't know if if his arrival is a blessing or a curse. I do like that. The only other thing is I feel like once again we have the issue where I feel like we need to know what time period does he live in. I mean, looking at his clothes, I could assume modern day, but I don't know, and that's a big thing I have in general with characters is it should probably be better established what the actual setting is. And I would also say that I'm trying to find a way to word this in the right way where I don't say something weird, but I just reading his bio, it doesn't really imply that he's trying to like hide in normal society, especially if like this picture is supposed to be his normal form, like the normal one he's usually walking around in, because that would probably have a hard time hiding in like the streets of Japan kind of a thing. So I mean, I don't know. I just like the implication. Like, okay, let me just back up for a second, because what's being implied to me reading this. By the way, this character's by Auntie Lucky. I think I can't remember if I said that or not. What's being implied to me reading this is that he's wandering around looking for something, and sometimes he'll indirectly help people, and he's lost. Which I'm not at this point. I'm not quite sure if the lost is just meaning metaphorical loss or literal lost. But like something about this bio tells me that he's just a mythical creature who's just wandering around and not actually trying to blend in. So like it's weird to me that he'd be wearing like modern people clothes. And again, that could be ranging into like subjective territory there. It's just I think there needs to be more elaboration on like what he's actually doing and where he is and where he's going and like his actual goals, his actual motivations. Because if I would imagine that if because what would be really cool is if that he was actually in like all the images I'm seeing of a puka, it says they can have human forms, but they usually have animal forms. So I mean, I think it would be more interesting. Plus, like the images that come up when you look up one are very, very cool. They're these cool like mixtures of like rabbits and wolves and like monkeys, and they're cool little mixtures of things, and it would have been cool to just see a creature like that and say that it's just wandering around Japan because it doesn't know why, rather than like the humanoid form, you know what I mean? And again, that could just be a personal thing. It's I don't know, I'm having a hard time seeing the reason why a mythical creature, like a mythological creature, is just wandering around wearing normal people clothes because they can. I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be more information. That's my biggest thing here, is that I think it's lacking context to properly work with. But regardless, I think the idea is interesting. And I think if there was just a little bit more fleshing out of like the character motivations and things like that, and reasons behind things, I think it'd be really cool. I think his design's got nice colors, all that kind of cool stuff. Learned something new today. I learned about the puka. So, we're off to our last one here for the day. We have Linda Turnbell or Turnbull? We have Linda. So, Linda by Pseudoplox. So here's our last character we're going to look at today. So first impressions, I think her design looks fine. Nothing crazy about nothing insane about the colors or the design in any real way. Nothing that like strikes me as needing advice. I don't know. But then her basic information, she's born May 9th, or May 6th, student at the University of Wisconsin, here, Harttown, metalhead, artist, has super strength and bulletproof skin. Again, this is another, I think that the lettering needs a little bit of work here just to make it a little easier to read, but that's a nitpick once again. So, information times. This is also, again, they said a original character for their webcomic. They said they're scripting. So, I really like the idea of a mythological creature stuck in a foreign country just trying to... Yeah, no, I agree. I like the idea of that too, which is why I almost wish he would look more directly resemble what he what he is, or like have an Irish name, because it just, I think it would help him stand out more. I'm sorry, okay, but that's besides. But yes, I agree. I like that concept a lot. Okay, so original character here, main protagonist of a superhero story I've been whipping up, webcomics being scripted. Okay. Advanced info. Canonically 18 years old at the start of the story, and thus a freshman. Geology major, as she wants to study a radioactive mineral that gives people superpowers. Will be elaborated on later. Also history minor. Strength and durability are passed down from her dad. Favorite bands include Alice in Chains, Volbeats, Disturbed, Foo Fighters, and Garbage. Bisexual, distrusts most people, likes food a lot. Might post more stuff related to the story later. So, I don't see anything that would need any notes from me. But at the same time, I think it's just because this isn't really very... This isn't very, like, deep information, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like, this is pretty basic, like, stuff here, so there's not really much to critique. And they said it's an original story, but I think there probably could, this could probably have used a little bit more information about the world it is, because it says strength and durability are passed down from her dad. So is this like, you know, are the powers genetic here? Is that the world we're going with, or are they not? Is she studying the rate? Like, I just think this bio, like, while there's nothing in here that's like objectively wrong, or even not really much that you could say is subjectively bad, it's just like, it's pretty basic. So I would recommend for this character just to have a little bit more in here, because right now this is not, because this is a big thing too, I think, when it comes to writing characters, is that, especially like me, I don't want to say like, oh, it's all about me, no, but like, for me personally, I've seen and analyzed and looked at, and I've seen a lot of characters, I've seen a lot of different tropes and common trends and all that kind of thing. So and now here's the thing too, trends are never wrong, tropes are never wrong, cliches are never wrong, it's just how you use them. But there needs to just be a little bit more so the person looking at your character can understand them better. Otherwise, it feels like you're just kind of like looking at somebody's, like, you know, it just feels very basic. And it's hard to get like attached to a character or interested in a character when it's like, okay, those are her favorite bands. She's distrustful of most people. All right. She's got superpowers. She's a freshman. She's a geology major, and she's studying, like, I think the most interesting thing in here is the whole geology major studying a radioactive material that gives people superpowers, you know? And I would recommend this character have just a little bit more information about her, some stuff that isn't kind of general basic information, if that makes sense. Like a little bit more in depth, like, you know, why is she distrustful of most people? Is there a reason, or does that come from nowhere? What are other person? Because I mean, distrustful of most people is the only actual distrustful of most people, and I guess likes food a lot, are the only two real personalities that are included in this. So I definitely recommend her. Like, I mean, hell, even in her info, it says she's a metalhead and she's an artist. I think that there could be more about that there. Like, okay, artist, how does she draw? Does she do sculptures? Does she write? If she draws, what kind of art does she do? Does she do the landscape paintings? Does she do character art? Does she do like stuff like that? I just think there's a lot more that could be expanded on with this character, just to make this bio have more there. So and it's just that balance between having too much information and not enough information. So sometimes somebody saying they can't critique their character isn't always a compliment. But sorry. That being said, I think she's got an interesting concept, and I wish them luck with their webcomic and stuff like that. So it's shrugs, and I honestly, I struggle with posting characters info because I want to expand upon a character as I post more content involving them, so I understand why they wouldn't add too much info. Yes, but this is what I have to say. If you're just posting a character to post a character, that's one thing. If it's more for yourself than somebody else, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But if you're offering a character to be reviewed, you have to understand that it's not the reviewer's job to go dig through every picture and read every little snippet of information they can dig up about your character, So that's the reason why I say this, is I can't review characters like this that have very minimal information, because there's not much there for me to critique. So I don't have any advice because there's not really much to give, But that's just being said, again, it's the endless cycle of doing character reviews, is like not knowing all of the context and also having too much context and all that kind of thing. But, that being said, that was the 5th one. And we've made this about an hour somehow, magically. But yes, so those were the first 5, and that was fun. So next week I'll probably try and pick a longer character, and we'll make the episode just dedicated to that one character. I might do more compilations if I have more that have very, very short bios. But that being said, and you can go check out and go say hi to all the artists that were featured. Ink Dragon Doodles with Vivian. We got Absolutely with Ruhito. We have Heinerd with Ragdoll. We have Auntie Lucky with Nezumi. And of course we have Pseudofox with Linda. So go give them some love and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, if anyone has any last burning questions and stuff, I'm free to answer, like about submitting things and all whatnot. You're free to ask right real quick. I'll say that at 4:00 I'll go ahead and end it, and I'll leave it for next week. 4:00 on the clock right now, but yeah. So this was fun though. It was fun. And I hope I can do this consistently, and I hope this can get me out of my rut with making videos and give me something to post weekly without having to dedicate all of my free time editing things. But yeah. So apparently during this stream I got some people who were commenting more on the fan fun journal, so I'll have some more stuff to look at next week. And again, like I said, there won't be one of these next week. Do submissions have to be on DA? Yes, it does. It can be on whatever. It can be on a throwaway account, whatever. But you have to. And the character itself can be in a Toy House folder. Or it can be in a stash thing. It can be it can be in a... Sorry, I derped for a second there. Yeah, it can be in a document so long as I can access it, but the actual comment on the journal has to be on DA. I'm sorry, but that's my only rule. Or that's my main rule. Guys, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. Read the journal. Because I have gotten... You have to read the journal that's in the description, or I'm not going to do it. Sorry, but... Anyway, sorry. Is it fine with you if the bio isn't 100% serious, because I just about die every time I try to write something and not sarcastic. It's fine. I mean, I write bios that are not 100% serious. I make plenty of jokes and things like that in mine. My only thing is that just, you know, make sure when you're like writing it that there is a clear line between the jokes and the actual information. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get the advice you want to get. Honestly, you writing a satirical, like writing jokes or writing being sarcastic is gonna be more just going to probably gonna I don't want to say be a detriment, but it's more gonna make it harder for me to give you fair advice than it is gonna be like painful for me to read, because I'm sarcastic and shit in my characters' bios all the time. It's just that make sure that, like, if you want a serious review of like an actual character and you want genuine advice, just make sure you don't like make everything, like literally everything in your bio a meme to where I can't tell what's serious and what's not, and like what's something I should be genuinely considering, you know what I mean? So that's all I'll really say about that. But yeah, you don't have to be like super cold serious, like everything about this character is 100% serious, there's nothing fun here. But you know, that's just my recommendation of there's a balance to it. But yeah, so you can do something fun for sure. Thanks for sharing this with us. I love to listen to these kinds of rambles review. I'm glad. I have a lot of fun with it. Honestly, a big reason why I stopped doing or I didn't really do many character reviews anymore was because editing them was really, really frustrating. Because they took a lot of work to edit and script and things like that, because if I uploaded one that was an actual video that wasn't scripted, people didn't like that it was rambly. So but they're very fun for me, and I think it's fun to be able to talk to the chat and have chat input and things like that, and all that sort of stuff. And I think the live reactions are fun. So yeah. With that being said, it's reached about an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. And I will hopefully see you next week. Not on Saturday because I can't do Saturday, but hopefully Sunday. Hopefully. That's a big hopefully. But if not Sunday, there will definitely be one the week after, because I want to try and do these weekly. So yes, with that being said, thank you all for coming, and I will see you in the next video, whatever it may be. Zodiac